Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another episode of the F1 podcast. It is the home of F1. Not Sky Sports, not the Formula One app, not the multiple other F1 YouTubers out there who may or may not have unconfirmed more subscribers or followers than this channel. But we are the F1 podcast and the home of Formula One. Do you think that is underselling us?
No, I think that's spot on, actually.
I thought it was spot on. Absolutely. But yes, welcome to the F1 podcast. We're here for a review preview.
Oh, yeah.
That's usually reserved for fantasies, but we thought might as well, it kind of comes across. So.
Roll it out.
Roll it out. We're here for another Jonty's question. My phone's over there. We'll get it when it's at the time. Another interesting question from Jonty. Lots of Stevens.
Lots of Stevens rumours.
Hey! I don't know. I was just bigging you up.
Yeah, Stevens.
We can talk about the F2 champion as well.
Yeah, general news.
Schumacher wins again.
What, spoilers?
Mick Schumacher.
Spoilers? No, they're
F2
not
champion.
Now they're going to know already.
They might already know.
Just switch, just go.
They might just want to hear our opinions of it. Okay.
I'm not saying anything.
Whoa, okay. But we go to the race. The Sakhir 2020 GP. Really good race, I thought.
Yeah. The first loop track on the F1 cut, well, in modern memory.
Yeah, because Monza's kind of a loopish. It's kind of Monza-esque, where it's all about the speed, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's got... Well, I guess it had a fair few corners, but the corners made it great. Like that George Russell overtake on Bottas was incredible.
I was going to say, that top section, you don't often see F1 cars overtaking each other in corners in F1, but because it's basically a straight, it was a time to kind of go wheel-to-wheel battling.
If you didn't nail the exit and the other guy did, it gave the second
or locked up going into it and went wide.
Yeah.
Immediately put you on the defensive. We had plenty of action through there in F1 and F2.
Yeah. Schumacher was making all his moves through those S's as well.
Absolutely was. Yeah,
I know many others. Schumacher's ones come to mind because they were incredible.
Yeah. It certainly was before it all went wrong. Or right. Because he did still
it did go right.
But yes. So, the race. 1. If you guys don't know already, you only tune into the F1 podcast, you don't watch the other videos on our channel, you will not know that it is Checo Week! Go yeah! Because Sergio Perez wins his first Formula One Grand Prix. What a moment. What a moment for Sergio Perez.
It was incredible. The longest wait for an F1 win in the history of F1. Checo Perez. And he nailed it. And it's the longest points with no scoring points to George Russell, but we'll come to George later. Records were broken. Well, records were stopped, kind of. There's still a record.
They were made. They were made, but their extension was ended.
Yes, that's the one. That's the way. But yeah, Checo loved it.
It is the way.
His radio messaging, then he did a Pierre Gasly on the podium. Forever known as a Pierre Gasly now, I feel like. Just...
Will I ever be here again? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe if he gets the seat next year.
Wow. Update on that.
Yeah. So...
Will he be Will Buxton?
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, he was just saying that there has been some heavyweight chat in the paddock. And if all things, obviously this comes out Wednesday night. We are recording this Tuesday, early afternoon-ish.
Early afternoon.
So if there is any news when this podcast comes out, apologies. But yes, he says there's some pretty heavyweight chatter for things to be very positive for Checo. And to me, that means one thing.
He's going to Ferrari. As we know, Ferrari have been really looking for Checo this year. And he can bring the next World Championship to Ferrari. Checo Perez. Get out the door, Charles Leclerc. Checo's taking your seat next year. It's the news we've all been waiting for. It's like it's the worst kept secret in F1.
No.
Checo to Ferrari.
No.
No?
He was a Ferrari junior when he came into
Oh,
Formula
confirmed!
But when he signed for McLaren in 2013, that is where his stance with Ferrari ended.
Oh, but do you know that?
Yes. But Red Bull, look, we said it in driver ratings. There is no logical sense why you would keep Alex Albon over Sergio Perez. There is literally no reason. Checo is better in every way.
In every way.
Apart from age.
Experience, consistency, driving ability.
His qualifying's even improved this year, Sergio, which has been a weakness of his.
Yeah. Teammate relations.
Yeah, but I mean,
he's improved those. Sorry, Albon. There's no dig on that. This is things better than Albon. Well, we're giving you 4 things.
Overtaking.
No, Albon's pretty good at overtaking.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he's better than Checo.
Checo doesn't normally have to do lots of overtakes because he's normally ahead.
What do you mean? He's worked his way twice this season.
I mean, he did go from last to first, didn't he?
He's overtaken a lot of cars to win that race.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't all in the pit stops.
Fine. Checo, that's 5.
Right, no, but, with all due respect to Alex Albon, he shouldn't be better than Sergio Perez because he hasn't had that much time in the sport. So it's a bit of an unfair comparison. But, you have to be ruthless when there are only 20 seats in the sport and you're trying to compete for the top level of motorsport. When you've got a guy like Sergio Perez on the market, go out there and sign him. What a drive it was from last to first. The pace he showed was incredible from pretty much from when he got punted from Charles Leclerc on lap 1 to then after that to the end of the race.
Yes. It was, incredible. And is pretty much Albon needed a win or a podium just to see him over the line and secure a seat for next year. But it turns out Checo just went, I'm going to win and I'm going to get that seat.
Yes.
And as Will Buxton says, that sounds like that's all he needed to do, win.
That's
and
probably
Red Bull
was the swaying point.
Red Bull had no other choice really at this point.
Well, now they wouldn't just be turning for a drive down for Checo for a steady midfield driver who gets the occasional podium. They now would be turning, Sergio Perez away, a proven race winner.
Exactly.
Shout out to Rox for that one. I saw that tweet. That wasn't my theory from there. But yes, look, everything points to Checo. It would be an absolute crime to F1. It would really be a kick in the teeth to F1 because F1 has to be a balance. I understand there's the business side, so you have to have some drivers in who may not be the best drivers in the world, but bring funding to allow teams to compete and progress and improve at the right level. And maybe at that stage of their career or that team's time, they need someone with money and financial backing to survive in the sport. And then that means that continues to have 2 seats in the sport. So it's less 2 evils. But you also need the top drivers in it. And Checo, still at this moment, again, like we talk about Kimi Räikkönen being easy in the top 10 drivers, Sergio Perez is driving the best he's driven in his career.
Yeah. Well, Max is your young talent who's going to be up there in the sport for the next 20 odd years. you don't need another young prodigy to go alongside Max. You just need a consistent guy that's going to get you podiums, maybe some race wins, consistently challenge Mercedes at the front on strategy calls and whatnot, and Checo's your man.
Absolutely. He's there. Bingo. Right bang on the money. But yeah, Racing Point as a whole, great weekend. Another great step for them to securing third in the Constructors' Championship, which will be huge for them.
Yeah. What's their lead at the moment?
I believe not as big as what you would think. I think it's only 10 points over McLaren.
Because McLaren jumped up last week. So
well, yeah, because of Checo's retirement. They would have, I'm pretty sure, would have secured it if Checo hadn't had that engine failure at the back end of last week.
Yeah. So there we are. But yeah, it's all to play for in Abu Dhabi.
Absolutely. But it was a strong one. And, you know, as much as Lance Stroll goes under the radar, credit where credit is due. Lance, I think, had a good race.
He's had a terrible run of races, either DNFs or being punted out. And just to get a solid, well, it's a P3, solid race result. He was beaten by his teammate all weekend, but he just needed a solid drive.
Yeah, but also...
And he got a podium.
Also, you have to say that, look, obviously Checo wasn't on the ideal strategy because he got punted and went to the back of the field. But it put him onto the medium compounds early, which then allowed him to go to the one-stop medium to hard, which was the optimal strategy. Yeah. Lance Stroll made a set of softs last 42, 43 laps. Yeah. It was somewhere along there, which was way above and beyond anyone else did.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible drive. Has to be
said.
said.
He could have done a one-stop. If it wasn't for regulation, he could have done a one-stop going soft. That's how far he went on those first set.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Which was incredible.
Yeah.
From there, and, you know, he's a young guy and he's developing. He isn't better than Sergio Perez, but like we're comparing Albon shouldn't be better than Sergio Perez because Perez has had X number of years. I think it's coming up to about 10 years it will be. I think it's 10 years next year. I think it's about 9 years in the sport. I think 2011 was his first season. You know, and he's had all this experience and he's had experience of leading a team and development and car knowledge, racing against good teammates, learning from them as well. So he should be better than both of them. But Lance, rightly or wrongly for what people think of whether he should have been given this long in the sport, he at least now is proving that given time within the sport, he has talent and that he does improve and develop.
Yeah.
And alongside Sebastian Vettel will be an interesting driver, that's for sure. But very positive for them. I suppose the next point we should probably talk about is Mercedes. George! No! Oh, George. Oh, George.
I must admit, when they were doing the double stack, let's just jump straight to it, okay? And then we can come on to George pre-safety car. When they were doing the double stack, George was like away. Boss got held up a little bit, and then he had the terrible pit stop, which I found very amusing. I'm just gonna say it, okay? And then
this is your fault.
The brakes were on fire.
You were laughing at Bottas.
I was like, if the day could have gone any worse for him, he goes off, and then you get the radio message from George saying he has to pit because they've given him the wrong bloody tyres. And then it's fine. Then he carves his way through. He has that masterful overtake on Bottas without DRS assistance. Gets all the way and closing the gap to Checo. It would have been close. I think Checo may have still survived it. But we would have had a proper battle for the lead. And then the slow puncture.
Everything that possibly could have gone wrong on that day for George did.
And he still got points.
Yeah. And look, in fairness, we have to give... Valtteri Bottas did have a ton of bad luck as well. But it's again the same thing with Lewis Hamilton. Turn one, he's lost out to his teammate.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to use bad luck as an excuse, because if you just look at the race before the last safety car, where everything, normal circumstances, neither driver has bad luck. They're on the same strategy, same whatnot. Bottas was completely outperformed by George Russell.
Yes.
George, who's only had a couple of days in that Mercedes, the seat didn't fit. He was all over the place.
Wait, just a sec.
We're going to have a Toto quote.
Wait, I'm going to get it. Here we go. I'm getting my phone. I need my phone anyway.
If you're just saying, you laugh at Bottas, we can't trust any word you say, hear it from Toto.
Right.
The difficulties George is facing.
Okay. So, look, we're still while I'm finding the tweet thread. Because this was an interview with Sky Sports Germany. So it was translated. Here we go. Nope. Right, here we go.
We got
it. Okay, well, first of all, Valtteri Bottas went, I would look pretty beep to people who don't really understand F1 on yesterday's performance. Look, I think people who know, there's been doubts around whether Valtteri Bottas Valtteri Bottas is a good driver.
Good driver.
His qualifying is very good.
Yep.
Has to be said. I think he is a very good qualifier. Over one lap, his pace is there. And when he's out in front leading a race, I think also he's good at banging out those laps and maintaining a gap and managing the gap there.
Yeah.
I think that's where credit is. But the question has to be, is that good enough for Mercedes? Going forward, at the moment, it's good enough for Mercedes because all the other teams haven't built a car that can get anywhere near it. So his saving grace has been that the other teams haven't been on it.
Yeah.
But is it good enough for Mercedes going forward? And that's probably the reason why they gave him a contract for 2020. Team harmony means they don't get the unknown of George Russell going in, even though they know he's good enough. Lewis Hamilton racks up an 8th title. They rack up an 8th Constructors title because there won't be a team that can get anywhere near them in the Constructors. And now, but Valtteri again on the defensive with that. I feel like he should just not say. Sometimes it's better not to say anything because look, let's be honest, it doesn't look good. And look, here's the quote from Toto Wolff about George. Toto on how
or maybe we haven't got it.
Toto on George. Okay. One must not forget, George Russell actually does not fit into this car. If you look at the pictures from above, you can see how he is squeezed in the cockpit. He had bloody fists. He was hitting his knees everywhere. But also, with the clutch pedal and the driver's fingers fit exactly into the clutch pedal. So they can release it correctly at the start, and George Russell's hands and fingers are too big for the clutch pedal. He can't build up enough brake pressure during hard braking. He was always 20% too little because he can't press the leg at the right angle. He had to wear smaller shoes to fit in there. Right, that's just some of the things that George had to go through while driving that Mercedes. Because remember, F1 cars for drivers nowadays, they're not like the old days where it was uncomfortable to drive them. Like, back in like the Fangio days, they loved an uncomfortable car because they felt it. It kept them alert. They weren't going to kind of snooze off into it. These are like limousines. They're like luxury. You're kind of snug fit. You're cozy. Lewis Hamilton, I've heard talking about in interviews before, like he could just go to sleep in there. He's so snug and cozy. Now, but they are also tailor-made fit for each driver. Now, obviously, Mercedes wouldn't have been able to do that tailor fitting for George Russell for this GP. And if he does to Abu Dhabi, I'm not even sure whether he can get it. They may find some improvements for him, but certainly...
They may be able to build a seat for him.
Maybe. to make it so he's a little less squeezed, and they might be able to do a steering wheel
bit lower down.
Yeah. In that aspect to help out with the clutch. But yeah, the length of the car, they're definitely not going to be able to change. So that's a lot to deal with in a race, and to still perform like he did. Not a single mistake he made in that Grand Prix. He took Bottas into turn 1 and then never looked back. And he had to deal with power issues, like changing power maps on the car as well. I don't know how many times drivers have to deal with that in a Grand Prix, and they might have just, because obviously Sky get to choose what they broadcast radio messages wise. So that might have just been one to add to the drama of George Russell, because he was in the lead. Tara is here if she pops in from there. But that was from Tammy on Twitter, who what's her Twitter handle? She's very good at translating Formula One articles. Vettel Leclerc at Vettel Leclerc. I think she's a Ferrari fan.
It's going to have to change that to Checo at Vettel Leclerc Checo next year.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
But yeah, George, it was just utter perfection. There was always question marks. I feel like, okay, the die-hard Russell fans were like, he's always going to succeed. But there was always question marks for me, especially when he slipped up under safety car when he was nearly getting his first points for Williams. It was like, question mark, can he see a race through when it matters? But he just silenced all that. All weekend he was on it. 0.02 of a second off Bottas in qualifying. That's Bottas' strength. And then, yeah. After turn 1, it was just...
As soon as I saw him that close to Bottas in qualifying, I had every confidence that he would go on and win the race. And if everything went to plan, he would have won that race, I'm pretty sure. Bottas spoke about him closing the gap, and he was closing the gap. I don't know how much of that was a power unit issue or, it would have been corrected. But, because when Bottas stayed out much later, and those guys who did stay out much later, it would have given Bottas the fresher tyres. I'm not sure how many laps he stayed out for, a bit more, 4, 5, 6.
Well, they're paying for fresh tyres anyway.
Yeah, well, they did that obviously under safety car, but if they hadn't have done that, this is what Bottas was talking about, pre-safety car happening in a race, he was catching him. Because obviously the gap had come down to, I think, 4 seconds from 8.5 seconds. So, he was catching him, but I don't know how much was that down to the power unit issue it seemed George Russell was having.
Was George just taking it easy?
Yeah.
Why push out front when you're in complete control and have a 8-second lead?
Correct.
Yeah.
You it's all about when you're in the lead managing the gap. And obviously George Russell's led races in junior categories before. He's been very successful in junior categories. But yeah, I think it very much, Toto said himself, he said a star is born, I think is what was his quote was from there. And look, George Russell is up there with the talents of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc in this next generation. Those, for me, are the 3 standout drivers who will be competing for titles. Obviously, there can be more guys coming in, but I don't think out of the talent that I've seen, obviously a lot of people might say Pierre Gasly. I think Gasly will be the one who kind of falls short, maybe fall into the Daniel Ricciardo category.
Probably. Yeah.
Very talented driver, but probably short of winning a championship. Daniel Ricciardo's career is not over yet. He may still
Is
go on.
Is Ricciardo over?
Find out here. But yeah, that's
yes.
Those were the main two talking points.
We should say
the
the pit incident. If you did miss it, there was a radio problem. So the guys who were in charge of the front tyres for George Russell didn't get the message they were double stacking. So that's why they took out Bottas's front tyres. So it was the front 2 that was the problem. And it's why the wheeljack guy on the front left was like, whoa. I've just given Bottas's tyres and you're telling me I'm going to have to put more tyres on Bottas.
Yeah, it was...
Bottas is over there, right?
It was literally the most catastrophic thing I've seen from Mercedes since Germany 2019, and I think this tops it. because that one was at least them going just running back and forward and tyres and which tyres to get on in terms of there. But the car was still there. But in a rain
there was many driver errors in Germany.
But in a rain affected thing, that had mainly come from Lewis Hamilton stuffing his front wing, because that was expected because it's a rain affected race. This was, they were absolutely in cruise control. As per usual, even with Lewis Hamilton gone, the two Mercedes had stormed off into the distance.
They called the safety car spot on. Like, they absolutely nailed when to come in. It's just one radio fault, and that was that. That was the race done for Bottas, at least. And then George obviously got stuffed by the
slow puncture.
Which I don't know if that was because of the pit stop fiasco. Maybe the tyre was damaged slightly in that fiasco or whatnot. Or he just got unlucky. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was very unlucky for Bottas, because the big thing is, it wasn't just putting on a set of the tyres he'd gone into the pits with. He's then lost all the temperature in those tyres.
Yeah, exactly.
So therefore, it's like a double whammy. The tyres would have been okay to get to the Grand Prix, but they weren't running in a race. They weren't like the ones that the Racing Point stayed out on. Well, obviously Checo, I believe Lance went on the mediums because of that really good stint on the softs. So yeah, that was the main car. I feel like Racing Point and Mercedes were the main talking points from that race, other than Ferrari obviously stitching Vettel up again with...
No, there is...
Tara's causing...
There is one more that we cannot... We've given him so much. He's another driver that's been just getting the bad. You're not doing good.
Yes, no, sorry.
It's Esteban Ocon.
Esteban Ocon. How could I forget?
There's this one moment of glory this whole season. He has to get some limelight.
He does. Look, Esteban Ocon is in your ideal situation. After a year out, he comes in, he hits the ground running, and he's competitive with Ricciardo. Ricciardo is one of the top drivers within Formula One.
Yep.
It was going to be a really tough ask for Esteban Ocon to be on it, matching him straight away out the blocks. But what you have to say is he has got better and better as the season's gone on, and he's lacked consistency because he's had some really good moments, but then just faded into a race, and it's not really played out. It's not pieced together as how he would have wanted. And, it must have been so frustrating watching Daniel get all the plaudits, sit on the podium, and he's going, I know this car's capable of getting on the podium in the right situation. I can do it. And then all the stars aligned in this race. And he, again, drove a very good stint on the mediums.
Early doors, yeah.
Which made him have fresher tyres on the hards, and meant that he didn't pit under safety car as well, which meant that he inherited a podium position. But he performed the undercut on what looked like the quicker Racing Point and managed to stay ahead of Lance Stroll, even though he was on the harder compound. And obviously when all the safety car stuff went on, he just stayed ahead full stop. So yeah, Esteban Ocon is getting strong at the right stage of the season, carrying that momentum forward into 2021 when he's going to come against teammate destroyer Fernando Alonso. He definitely needs to have some sort of momentum. But, there are rumours already about Pierre Gasly potentially going to Renault in 2022. So if Esteban Ocon wants an F1 future and to affirm his place in the sport, he needs to improve performances. And a performance like on Sunday is a massive step in the right direction for him.
Definitely. Yeah.
Renault teammate, we'll put this one out just as an interesting one. Yeah, because we listen to comments, and so sometimes obviously people are entitled to disagree with stuff there. But we thought Daniel Ricciardo, for Daniel Ricciardo standards, had a poor race on Sunday. Obviously P5 in a Renault, you look on the face of that going, it's at least a solid drive. Even though he's been beaten by his teammate and safety car things. But by his own admissions, Daniel Ricciardo, hang on there. So how would you have rated Daniel Ricciardo? And would it have been, was it a slip up for Renault that weekend? Or was there a chance to maybe get something more from the weekend?
Yeah. Over to you guys. as we said, his team kind of stuffed him with the late call to go into the pit stops, and then he lost out to the undercut.
Which was really powerful here.
But he didn't seem too happy all weekend. So,
yeah, he just, from how well he's driven all season, he sets a higher standard, and he is that elite level driver, you would kind of say. Yeah. He'd go from there, and you just expect him to find something to get past Carlos Sainz, but Carlos Sainz himself drove a fantastic race.
I mean, the podium was still there at the end of the race.
Yeah.
He was P5 and the podium was just there. All within DRS. But he couldn't find any extra pace to make any moves. Obviously, it's tough in a DRS train, but yeah.
It is difficult, to kind of get that extra pace and deploying of the energy store and everything. So, yeah, it's difficult. But that's probably... We'll round off...
Sorry. Just a quick little mention for the two debutees of Fittipaldi and Aitken.
Fair enough.
Aitken made a driver error, but both looked pretty okay. They were way off the pace, but it was their F1 debut. It's to be expected.
I mean, Pietro's driving a Haas, which is, it's basically getting to the levels of driving an F2 car in F1.
But Fittipaldi will be back next week. Aitken may also be back this weekend, depending on the Lewis Hamilton situation. But both looked all right.
Yeah, obviously we don't know.
Neither of them will.
The Lewis Hamilton situation may be announced by the time that this podcast goes live.
Yes,
so,
probably will, because Wednesday.
Yeah, makes sense. But yes, so obviously you guys will know probably more than us what the situation is, whether Jack will race.
Yeah, but Fittipaldi will definitely be back next weekend because Roman Grosjean won't be, which we may talk about in the Stevens rumours and general news.
But I think that's the review done. Look ahead to Abu Dhabi. The only real things to stand out for is if George is in it, was it a fluke to beat Bottas, or will he beat Bottas again? Because expect Mercedes to be strong.
Mm-hmm. It's a stronghold for them, and so it's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 other than another catastrophic error.
If Max races, couldn't the Racing Point match him?
Maybe.
It'd be an interesting one to see.
Can Albon make a last grasp for his Red Bull future?
Yeah, that will be one to look out for. And obviously the battle for third. Will Racing Point secure it? Will McLaren find something? Or will Renault surprise everyone and secure P3 in the championship? They are mathematically possible.
But it's one of those mathematically possible to win it.
But
they're pretty much out the race.
I'm pretty sure they're 172, so they're 20 points behind.
Yeah.
Which would require a big swing.
They're going to have to get a double podium.
They're not entirely implausible. But Abu Dhabi doesn't really throw up crazy races with lots of retirements.
All about qualifying and nailing the strategy.
Yeah, but there's very rarely do you get lots of retirements things. So get all four of the competitors or two of the competitors finishing in low scoring points positions enough to swing it around for you, a lot would have to fall in Renault's favour, and for them to obviously take advantage and finish 4th, 5th, 3rd, 5th, whatever.
2nd, 3rd.
Yeah. Whatever it would be. So yeah, that's probably the main ones to look out for. And it's obviously we'll get to a season review, but it's this race. Expect the unexpected, probably Abu Dhabi. I think that's what we've had from 2020. Yes, they've had the predictable with Mercedes and everything up front. But the more the season has gone on, it may be just because we've had so many tracks that we haven't been to either in a while or ever, that it's shown so much variety in the field and the pack and not much data and stuff. Or it may just be that it's a bit of a wacky mental year and crazy stuff has happened.
Well, we've had 13 podium sitters now.
Yeah, with Esteban Ocon in the 13th different one. Could we get 15? Daniel Kvyat on there.
Yes, but then you're talking about either an Alfa Romeo, Haas or Williams being on the podium, which isn't going to happen. Kvyat may nick one,
but I can see Kimi Räikkönen being there. That's all I'm going to say. I can see him being
and
there.
17 cars retire, and it's Kimi win. Kevin Magnussen second, and Fittipaldi third.
Unbelievable! The Mercedes power units have never blown up so much in this. Renault have returned to their unreliability, and Honda have just checked out of the sport early.
They took Red Bull's engines.
They said, we're out. We don't even want to finish this last race.
Max has just been pedaling around. Pedal power.
No! But yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No,
that's our preview of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
That's pretty much all can really talk about.
There's not much to say. Expect the unexpected. Expect Mercedes power engines to be strong.
Those are really the things to look out for, aren't they? It's
Albon needs a big finish.
I would say it will be a more exciting for not discredit. It's good to watch Lewis Hamilton and smash records and do everything there, but I think story-wise, narrative-wise, it will be interesting to see Russell versus Bottas again.
Yeah.
To see whether it was just Russell nailed it for that weekend, or Bottas does get back on top and go to a convincing win.
Yeah.
But yeah, which means it's time for Jonty's question. So, please wait while we find Jonty's question.
The question of Jonty.
Of Jonty?
No, because then we're questioning Jonty.
Yeah, it's true.
The question's brought to you by the F1 podcast sponsor, Jonty. He has very kindly donated a question for this week's podcast.
As every week. Yep.
It's a giveaway to everyone. Only one available though. And this week's one available is...
It's coming.
It's a good one.
It might be. I don't know. Right, if I can't... No, it is failed. For whatever reason, it is.
No, it just builds up.
No. The question's here. Right. Okay. So basically, the question is: out of the periods of dominance in modern F1, so going back to McLaren from 1984, essentially.
Wait. I should turn the light on. It's very dark.
Smart. So going back to like the periods of dominant modern F1, so going back to McLaren 1984 up to Mercedes' current dominance, which one has been the most entertaining?
What, most entertaining dominant spell?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So McLaren, here's just some points to kind of help maybe sway us in a discussion from there.
Sway me.
1984 to 1991. Rivalries, Lauder and Prost, Mansell, Prost and Piquet, and obvious Senna and Prost. Interesting points. McLaren won all World Drivers' Championships in this period, bar 1987, which was won by Piquet.
Fast.
Also, from 1984 to 1991, all titles were decided at the last but one or last race of the season. So either the penultimate race or the last race.
Yeah.
So it was going down to the wire quite a lot. Williams, 1992 to 97. Although Schumacher won 2 titles in this, there's a because obviously the Damon Hill 1994 title. Crash. Don't talk about it. In this time, Williams still won 4 drivers' titles and 5 constructors' titles. Interesting point, all titles were won by different drivers, 3 of which who didn't drive for the team the following year. So obviously, Damon Hill won his title, didn't drive for the team the following year. Jacques Villeneuve won the title,
here we go again.
didn't drive the team the following year.
Every week.
Alain Prost.
Jacques Villeneuve.
Alain Prost won his title, didn't drive for them the following season. I'm just going with what's here. I didn't even bring it up. 2 titles went down to the last race, and the others were won with several races to spare.
I respect that. Like, we don't want to be... we want to be dominant, but we don't want to be boring. So we're just going to sack off every world champion we get. Then it's exciting, right?
It was a weird one. Well, Prost obviously retired. Damon Hill, was in favour of bringing in Heinz Alfredson, I believe. And Jacques Villeneuve, I don't even know. I think he just got a deal with BAR Honda and thought it was... Or was it on his terms? I'm pretty sure it was on Villeneuve's terms.
I like my narrative better.
Right, okay, yeah, your one works better. Ferrari, 2000 to 2004, 10 titles in 5 seasons, only bettered by Mercedes, won an average of 10 races per season in this time, with 2003 being the low season. The 2002 and 2004 season was nearly a clean sweep for Ferrari, winning 15 out of 17 and 15 out of 18 races, respectively. Red Bull, mid-2009 to 2013. I would say 2009, actually. I know Braun went off like a rocket, but Red Bull easily could have kind of done that. They just spent far too much of the season arguing whether the double diffuser was legal or not. Anyway, from the British GP in 2009 to 2013, Red Bull steadily beat the opposition. Vettel won the title in the last race in Abu Dhabi in 2010 and Brazil in 2012. Only the 2011 and 2013 titles were where Red Bull ran away with the titles. 8 titles in 4 seasons is still pretty dominating. I think Vettel set a record for winning 8 races in a row in 2013. He thinks. Jonty, you're a stat man. You can't think. If someone gets that wrong, it's Jonty's fault.
You can think, but you can't say you think.
Yes. Yeah. Mercedes 2014 to present. Utter boring dominance. 14 titles in the 7 seasons since the change to hybrid engines. Records breaking more than Guinness books. From a personal standpoint, I only think the 2016 season is the only one worth talking about. And that was also won by a Mercedes driver.
Yeah.
I would say...
one dominant,
look,
one title challenge season.
Okay, I would say... bless you. I would say, right, let's rule out Mercedes as entertaining. Yeah. Look, although I would say 2019 and 2020 have been 2 of the most respective entertaining seasons in modern history.
Yeah, but not for the title.
No, but in terms of F1 as a general whole, there's been some entertaining.
But we're talking about the dominant teams winning titles. So
well, no, just the period of F1 in general.
Okay. We're now changing the rule book.
Are we? I think that was always the question. But anyway, Mercedes ruled out. Ferrari, I'm also ruling out because 2003, brilliant season. 2000, great title fight between Mika. You could even include 1999 in this.
What about the formation of the dream team? The Ferrari winning. The most F1 team. Winning.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, get out of here, Ferrari.
It was only really entertaining if you were a Ferrari fan.
Okay, fair enough.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
I missed most of it, so I can't comment.
Right, Williams...
Then going to comment on the other 2 that were before I was born.
Williams is up there because you had Senna in 92 and 93. In 93, he was amazing. Very good. You had that. You had the emergence of Schumacher and probably Schumacher in his peak. Damon Hill, you had the underdog story winning a title with Williams. Famous of Murray Walker's commentary, lump in the throat.
And obviously was he the first son of a world champion to be world champion?
I believe so. Maybe. That sounds good to me. But
let's just say it.
I can't think of let's go for it. Because Gilles never won one actually at this point. Jacques Villeneuve was the best rookie season at that time.
Yep.
And you got to remember 97, so people actually liked him then. what else in that period? Yeah, that's probably it. Johnny Herbert, if you're a fan of Johnny Herbert.
Well, it's just the mixture of world champions.
Yeah. It was nice. Prost, I'd say, as well.
I put that in my top 2.
Top 2?
So the Red Bull one, we skipped over that. Are you actually considering the Red Bull?
Yes.
Because of Alonso?
Well, because it had 2 of the best seasons in modern history. 2010, you had, for the large majority of the season, 5 guys going for a title.
Okay, yeah.
It had 4 people who could mathematically win the title in the last race.
Okay. Oh, here's the word mathematically.
And then the guy, well, 3 of them, the one who was an outside shot in Sebastian Vettel, won it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Lewis Hamilton was the most outside shot. Alonso was favourite and Webber was second favourite. But Vettel won, having not led at any stage in the championship up until that last race.
Fair enough, yeah.
And 2012 was a great rivalry between Alonso and Vettel. And again went down to the last race and had a brilliant season finale race because it had that drama. It had a spin from Vettel where you go, oh, that's it, and him working his way through the field to doing enough to win the race at the end. Like, not win the race, sorry, win the championship at the end. 2009 fairy tale season brawl.
I understand, but there's just something about Red Bull that just doesn't inspire me.
Okay. I would take that era of dominance over Mercedes' era of dominance every day of the week, and probably Ferraris as well.
For sure.
So it's third. Then should we say it's third?
Okay, yeah. Maybe it's just the team. It's not historical. It's not like. I love Red Bull, but when you compare it to McLaren's dominance, Williams' dominance, Ferrari dominance, just hasn't got the same.
Yeah. I
can't think of the word.
Let's be honest here. The winner is McLaren 1984 to 91.
Yeah.
If you were going McLaren 1988 to 91, Senna versus Prost, then you'd go, maybe not, because it was maybe only entertaining, like we said, if you're a McLaren fan. But look, Senna versus Prost is the greatest rivalry of all time in Formula One, of teammate rivalries. You can argue whether team rivalries against each other outside of teammates, there are better ones. But that has been the one that they drove each other to heights like nobody thought possible. Lauda, the comeback of winning in 1984 versus Prost was crazy. Prost versus the Williams lads of Mansell and Piquet. That was incredible seasons. And especially, obviously, that double tyre blowout for Williams in 1986 that saw Prost claim the title. It was entertaining. In 1991, you had Senna versus Mansell as well. Look, there was a lot of great racing action and classic races in that time as well. I think
it's the Lauda, Senna and Prost.
And Piquet.
Because
Piquet is always the forgotten man in terms of that. You also had Gerhard Berger racing at that time, another great driver. 1991, it's just outside of Schumacher, isn't it?
All
Schumacher
4 of those are easily top 10.
Yeah.
Easily of all time. And it was just, It wasn't just boring dominance. It was incredible drivers, incredible seasons. Number 1.
They did what we all hoped Mercedes would do, but Mercedes were too smart to do.
Yeah.
Which actually I think Mercedes looked at McLaren and said, we don't want to do that because that will be an absolute nightmare to handle.
It'll be entertaining, but difficult to handle. They got a taste of it with Rosberg. And they were like, not doing that again.
Prost and Senna were the best 2 drivers of the time. Obviously, a lot of fans were Mansell, a lot of fans were Piquet as well, but I think they were both just below the Prost and Senna level. And those 2 were the best drivers in the best car just going hell for leather at each other. And why that is, it just is the most entertaining dominant period ever.
Yeah.
To date.
Yep.
To date. Hopefully we don't have dominating periods to come, but yeah, to date.
So we've made our decision.
Now it's your turn.
As this was a giveaway to you.
To you! Well. But yes, okay. Now we go to Steven's Rumours.
There's not really much in other news.
That's probably... Right, okay, let's do a quick roundup of the F2. Right, season finale from the weekend. Mick Schumacher has won the F2 title. He obviously has confirmed already that he'll be racing for Haas next year, so that is superb for him. I think he was the best driver of the season because not only did he win the title from being, after 9 races, 51 points behind Callum Eilert with 12 races to go in the season. He turned that around and won. But also, Mick Schumacher had more pressure than any other driver in that paddock. And he still won the championship. Everyone, obviously there were Mick Schumacher fans who wanted it. And when we did the F2 preview on the channel, I think 2 of us put Mick Schumacher to win. It was me and now Zoe predicted that Mick Schumacher was going to win. And a lot of people wanted him to fail. I remember at the start of the season, there was all this hype around Guan Yu Zhao. There was a lot of hype around Robert Schwartzman. Mick Schumacher wouldn't even be in it. He would fall away. He's just a name. He hasn't got the talent. But he's proven that he's much more than that, and he is a talented driver and deserves a shot, especially winning under all that pressure in for his F2 championship, and excited to see how he does. Although if the Haas car is as poor as what it's been, it's going to be a really difficult baptism of fire for Mick Schumacher within Formula 1. Yuki Tsunoda, for me, was...
absolutely dominated the weekend.
Yeah.
P1 and P2. Like, jeez. You can't ask for a better season finale than that. And your best intro to the F1 world.
Yeah, because he will be driving for AlphaTauri. I think he's confirmed that he's doing the Abu Dhabi test for them. So I think it's pretty much, right, one of the worst kept secrets in the paddock after, obviously, the Haas one of Nikita Mazepin and Schumacher lineup.
Should be announced either before or after Grand Prix. It's just a question of when.
But Yuki was one of my stars of the season because I wrote him off. I think he was maybe 17th. I predicted him to finish because I was like, he struggled in F3. Yuri Vips was the better guy in F3 and didn't even get an F2 seat. I was like, this kid he's just there because he's from Japan. He's got the Honda back in. Honda would love a Japanese driver. But Yuki, and when Helmut Marko said, we're giving him the target of finishing 4th this season, I was like, jog on, Helmut. This is no way Yuki's going to finish in the top 4 this season. And he finished 3rd. He bettered
finished
it.
1 point behind Eilert.
Yeah. Like Yuki Tsunoda.
What was it?
Absolutely incredible. And the second best driver of the season for me. And, Nikita Mazepin did very well in High-Tech's first season to secure his super license points and drive for Haas. We all know that he's going to Haas because he's got a really fat-ass paycheck behind him. But, there's talent to that driver as well. He isn't a talentless guy coming through with money. Callum Eilert misses out on F1. I know there's a lot of people disappointed by that. But for me, he blew it. Led the championship 51. He had no pressure really going in. And when the pressure was on, when he was leading the championship, he crumbled and fell away and only really started to perform again when he had nothing to lose.
He also had a golden opportunity to win on the final sprint race.
Exactly.
When Schumacher fluffed his tyres, all he had to do was either be patient and wait for Schumacher to pit or overtake Schumacher on worse tyres.
Yeah, he in pushing Schumacher, he burnt up his own tyres, which just dropped him out of the points and meant that he wasn't able to go and chase down that second place finish. I think it would have been enough.
All he needed was second, yeah.
Yeah, to secure the title. So for me, Callum falls short. I think he's a talented driver and he'll be talented in motorsports. I expect him to have a career where he goes. Maybe he goes to Japan in Super Formula and Super GT. Maybe he goes over to America, IndyCar, Formula E type of thing. He's rapid. His qualifying is undoubtedly very good. But racecraft is a bit lacking for me. And maybe that's the area that's just going to cost him eventually. But didn't win the championship. He may even be in F2 another season, hoping out. But I highly doubt.
Unlikely.
I think his chances go.
I think the financial backing isn't there for another F2 season. Yeah.
It would make sense. But it was a fantastic climax to the F2 season, and both F2 and F3 went down to the wire.
Yep.
It went down to the wire for the champions, and two people could have won it. I think Yuki technically was mathematically possible. I don't know. No,
not on the sprint race.
No. He was ruled out the day before, even.
In theory, he was still mathematically possible in the feature race, but because where Schumacher and Nylock finished, he was ruled out for the sprint race.
Cool. Right. Yeah. So that's it. That's it for the F2 season. What a fantastic season and a fantastic there. I think sometimes we can get carried away by thinking, oh, they're young, so they must be better. They're new. Where it's not always the case.
No.
The harsh reality is there's 20 seats in Formula One, and you're not going to get 3, 4, 5 drivers progressing from F2 next year, because that would lower the quality of Formula One. And if you're someone like, Callum Ilott, who doesn't have the financial backing, you better damn well make sure that you win the championship if you're going to bang on the door and say, give me an F1 seat. And if you fall short of that, you can't be looking at F1 teams and saying, give me a seat. But yeah, great season. Mick Schumacher, Can't wait to see. Mazepin's going to be interesting to see. And Yuki Tsunoda, I'm really excited by as well.
Yeah, so that's about the feeder series. So also maybe not as popular, not as mainstream news. Nelson Piquet Jr. has given up on F2. So
Nelson Piquet Jr.? I mean, hasn't raced in F2 for a while. No, Pedro Piquet.
Pedro Piquet Jr., that's the one.
Pedro Piquet. He's not Nelson Piquet Jr. because he's just Pedro Piquet.
Sorry. Okay, no, he's not, is he?
No.
He's given up. He won't be in F1. He's gone.
Regardless of whether he's a junior or not, he's out.
I'm trying to think of other F2 stuff. I can't think of anything. Schwartzman's confirmed for Prema. He'll win the title next year and probably be an Alfa Romeo the year after that.
May well be. Although, here's an interesting theory to wrap up F2 for you. Théo Pourchaire is a Sauber junior.
Yep.
Very, very highly rated by Fredericks Vasseur. Now, this is not my theory. This is Zoe's theory. I believe in it. I think it's good. Robert Schwartzman may be unlikely, even if he wins the title, to get that Alfa Romeo seat because, Alfa Romeo pretty much said no, because I think first choice was Mick to go to Alfa Romeo, and they said, we want to keep Kimi Räikkönen and Giovinazzi. So either Kimi or Giovinazzi to go, and Théo Pourchaire will be in F2 next year. It's not confirmed, but he will be in F2 next year.
It's confirmed. ART announced it.
Oh, okay, sorry. It is confirmed. He's with ART next year. With ART's philosophy of they usually only back one driver in Formula 2 to go for a title, expect Théo to be up and around it, but he only needs to finish P10 in the championship to secure the...
Actually, I just realised, I think he's just testing with them, but if he's testing with them, probably going to take them.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that he will be in F2 next
year.
Yeah. But, he only needs to finish 10th in the championship to gain his super license points. He will more likely be a guy that kind of blocks Robert Schwartzman getting there and Théo Pourchaire to go up straight away. Because, look, if we're talking about prodigal talents coming up through the ranks, Théo Pourchaire, it's going to be interesting to see him in F2, but F3, again, was blinding for me. The kid's good. He's your next guy that you could go, with the right experience, landing in the right seat at the right time, he's a guy that might potentially be able to challenge the Max Verstappen's, Leclerc's, and Russell's in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
And he could be the one, because Alfa Romeo, there's obviously always rumours within that team that they're not entirely happy with going Ferrari. They kind of wanted to back the Honda engine. I mean, they probably proven that it was a smart decision not to go with Honda now, because
they're bailing out.
They're bailing out of F1. But there's options. They could easily go to Renault.
Exactly. Yeah. Sever the partnership there. There is a limit that they don't have to stick with it. And with Ferrari obviously not producing a great engine at the moment, there is no real incline to go, oh well, they got the best engine, so we probably should stick with them. Yeah, there's a very real possibility that things might play out. But there's an interesting theory for people to discuss and think about in the comments down below. So just one more bit of news? I just was thinking that if they go to Renault, they may then have to give a seat to Renault Junior.
Potentially.
Because that's what Renault won. They won a partner team, don't they? Or junior team, rather than a partner team.
But Renault would have to offer them an engine.
Yeah.
I feel like these contracts are, well, if you give us this, we'll knock a percentage off the price.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But they have to give them an engine because the Formula One have it that they won't. There won't be a team without an engine supply because they're playing politics with it.
Yeah. But yes, that's that. Final news. It's not rumour. Roman Grosjean confirmed he won't be racing at Abu Dhabi because he's just focusing on recovery and family time and whatnot. But I think Toto has said he's trying to arrange a private F1 test for Grosjean to have a little spin in the Mercedes, which is pretty nice to go from a Haas car to the fastest car ever made.
It's been so long.
In Formula
It's
1.
been so long since he's been in a good car. It'll be nice to remember.
Yeah. Be his little send off, because we all wanted him to have for his final thing in F1 to be a race rather than the biggest crash in modern F1 history. But he's gonna have his final moment in the fastest car in Formula 1.
It'd be a nice way for him to send off. Yeah. Not the best way, but at least it's some sort of consolation.
Yeah,
I think
that's
fair. But that's it. It's been a long podcast today. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. Plenty to discuss and talk about, obviously, because of the season finale F2. And I think we got carried away with our review as well. But it was plenty to talk about in detail.
Exactly.
That's the point of a podcast. If you don't take your time in a podcast, do a short video. That's not what we do on the podcast. We're here. We're in it for the long run. When we hope you were too. If you weren't, sorry.
But they're not here by now.
So it doesn't really matter.
So screw you guys.
We're out. But yes. Anyway, guys, that's it from us. So if you're new around here or haven't done so already,
you can like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding it. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.